Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Smart People Travel Wise, an award-winning travel podcast where we discuss all things about travel. I'm your host, Tennie Sumague, coming to you from my job in Long Island City, Queens. I'm in the library, and today's episode is you're in for a real treat as I discuss my first time cruising with Celebrity Cruises, and I'm going to introduce to you my guest who will probably change your minds about cruising after you listen to this podcast episode. But before we get started, I like to remind everybody, if you are watching this live, please hashtag live. And if you're watching this on replay, hashtag replay. Make sure you tell us where you're coming from so we can acknowledge all of you. Please don't forget to like us on Facebook and YouTube. You can also listen to this podcast on Amazon Fire, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, or simply just download the PHLV radio app available on all iOS and Android phones. So my guest host today actually works for Celebrity Cruises, and I'm going to have her share with all of you who she is and convince all of us, including myself, why we should take a cruise with Celebrity Cruises. So without further ado, please smash those heart buttons as I welcome Alex Miller to our podcast. Hi, Alex.
Hey, thanks so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
I know I'm excited to do this podcast because I want to let the audience know, a month ago, and it happened to fall on my birthday. This is why I'm so excited to do this episode, because this is probably the best birthday gift I could ever have gotten.
Oh, I love to hear that. Well,
review a cruise, but not only just a cruise on Celebrity Cruises. And like I want to mention to our audience, I'm everyone knows I'm an avid traveler. I'm a travel advisor, but I've never been on a cruise. And this experience was probably, it was beyond my expectations. And, funny thing is the cruise name is Beyond.
Yes, I love that.
And it was probably out of my expectations. I can't wait to go on a cruise, yet alone sell cruises. But before we get to that, I do want you to introduce yourself. Tell us more about what you do and how you got into the travel industry.
Yeah. So my name's Alex Miller. I am what we call the field market manager here for Celebrity Cruises. I cover a particular territory on the East Coast, Maryland, Delaware, a little bit of Pennsylvania, and I work primarily with our travel advisors in my territory. So basically my role is to work with our travel agencies throughout my region to really help promote Celebrity, help build their business, and do things like this podcast to really talk about our experiences. And I really started, it was December 2013 with Celebrity Cruises. I had no prior travel industry experience for that, just really coming out of college around that time. I started in the Philadelphia market. I was promoted to this current role, but in San Diego. So I was on the West Coast for about 4 years. And then more recently, in December of 2019, moved back to where I grew up in Maryland, and am now working with all of our travel partners in this region. So it's a great job. I mean, get to go on these ships and experience them myself, and get our travel partners on board to experience them as well, and really hype it up so everyone knows what we're all about.
Oh yeah, you definitely got me hyped up after after going on my first cruise. And I mean it was just a one night event, but honestly I came out of that event just ready to sell, ready to even experience it for myself as a traveler. And I'm going to share you a story. I went to a funeral. One of my a friend of mine, his father passed away. I mean, funerals aren't the best places to sell, but the joke in the Filipino within our network is, funerals are the best reunions. And I ran into one of my friends who's also a traveler, and she asked me like, and she saw my pictures on Facebook about celebrity cruises. She was like, "Oh, so what resort is that?" I was like, "That's a cruise." And she was like, "What cruise is that?" And I was just like, "It's celebrity cruises. It's like a luxury. It's very sophisticated." And I was just telling her, I was like, "Yeah, it's." I was like, "It. You would be surprised because I think her mentality with cruises is like Carnival and that corny Kathy Lee." I think she
I
thinks of
know,
Kathy
and
Lee.
unfortunately, I think a lot of people do have that conception, right, of cruises. And what's really cool about Celebrity, especially our Edge class ships, the ship that you were on, is that these ships were designed by people outside of the cruise industry. So you truly feel, and it's funny that your friend used the word resort, because we are definitely, our kind of new mantra is that we are a relaxed luxury resort at sea. So love to hear that, that was even what she was getting from looking at just photos.
Yeah, and even my sister was looking at it, and she was also like hesitant. She was like, "Aren't cruises for old people?" I was just like, "Not this cruise." And then she saw.
No.
I even said, like, who did the interior design was Nate Berkus. She was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and then I was just like, "Yeah." And when I was there, they even filmed "Watch What Happens" with Andy was the from Andy.
Yeah, Andy Cohen.
Andy Cohen, and then I was like, "Yeah, and who's the godmother of the ship is Simone Biles." Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that, but I'm also a sports fan too. I've done sports journalism. I've done a story on Simone Biles, and I was just like,
Wow.
even the people who are promoting it, it has, I said to my sister, there's class and sophistication on this, and she was like, "Okay, next year," and and my mom's turning 80 too, so, and she can't travel as much as she could, and I think the best way to travel with her is cruises.
Yeah, truly. I mean, you just unpack once, right? And then everything else is taken care of. You get to see, for celebrity cruises, we do say most of the voyages that you book, you're seeing at least 8 countries, per sailing, which you can't get that experience elsewhere, right? I mean, you could of course travel around, but again, it's the unpacking, packing, all that kind of thing. So it's the best of both in that way.
And I think it's also you save a lot of money in comparison to like if you were to do just like, you fly and do land tours, which is what I'm used to. But when you do a cruise tour, you get the best of, everything's included, drinks, the restaurants, oh God, don't get me started with the breakfast buffet. I'm going to mention, like the best part of my experience were those croissants, Alex. And I still up to this day dream about them. I think about them. I try to go to every bakery to have a croissant and with the butter and jelly, and it's just not the same that they had on that ship.
Yes, I agree. They are delicious, and all of the breads on board are made from scratch, so it's made with love. And yeah, I agree. I can't wait to get back on board and get some. Maybe I'll send you some next time.
Oh yeah, please, a dozen. And I'm not gonna. I promise, it's all gonna go to me. I'm not gonna even share with my family and friends. Oh, maybe a piece. They have to know how delicious the thoughts were. And I mean, even the breakfast was even phenomenal too, and which is kind of like that's the good thing when you sell travel too. I think a lot of people look into like, okay, is there a free breakfast buffet, and like, yeah, and then it's not your whole Hampton Inn free waffle stuff. There's
there's something for everyone in our buffets. And yeah, what the great thing is, it's all of the foods included. So yeah, that price tag you're saying, it really is a great value cruising in general.
Yeah, and then the best part too is like what you want to sell to your customers and is value. You kind of have to forget the price tag of it, but when you travel, you have to travel. You have to come back feeling refreshed, rejuvenated, and telling all your friends you've taken the best vacation ever or the best cruise ever. And I know for a fact that even if my experience was only one night. I know if I take a celebrity cruise trip wherever, Caribbean, Europe, Asia, that I would come back like feeling rejuvenated and just alive. And that's how I felt, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
sadly, I had to go to work after that overnight thing. And I actually even told my coworkers, they asked me, oh, how was that, how was that
Mhm.
experience? I'm just like, you know what? You all have summer breaks or you have that February break. The one thing you should do is take a cruise on Celebrity.
Love that. Yes.
That's my campaign, my marketing campaign here, as that's the best thing. And also teachers, educators are the best people to market when travel because they have the vacation times and they do really need the
Yeah.
vacation
Oh,
because
I know. You all work so hard.
yeah. So I do want to ask you too, even from your own experience from just say cruising,
Mhm.
is this, even working for Celebrity Cruise, did this love for cruising come about after working, or have you experienced going on a cruise?
Oh, yes. So my first cruise was a Royal Caribbean cruise. I think I was in middle school. It must have been like seventh or eighth grade. It was Monarch of the Seas for anybody that might, have been in the business for a while. I remember that ship at Royal Caribbean. And it was just I remember stepping on the ship and just in awe. I was like, what? They can do this? Like, this is a hotel, but it was weird to wrap your head around the concept that this kind of experience is on a vessel, right? And we had such a great time. We went to the Caribbean, we went to Cozumel. It was just like a short Mexican, Western Caribbean sailing with a couple stops in Mexico, Grand Cayman Islands. And, from there, I was like hooked. This is definitely a great way to travel. We got to see all of these different places in just a short amount of time. And I brought a friend with me, so we come back to school, telling everyone about our vacation together, and definitely memorable and something that I still think about these days. And from there, really only a few other personal cruises with my family until I started working for Celebrity in 2013. And since then, I've been on quite a few, if you can imagine. But, every time it's a different experience, but it's always phenomenal. And I learn so much, too, every time that I get on. And what's great, about this job is that I do have the opportunity to check out all of the different products within our portfolio. So while, yes, Beyond is our newest ship, we do have a few other smaller ships, a little bit different style ships as well. So I really get the benefit of being able to experience all of that and talking, to you and everyone else about those experiences. So hopefully, I did have a baby last year, so we haven't cruised as a family yet, but I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting that opportunity this summer. I think that's our goal, is to try and get on a ship as a family this upcoming summer.
That's great. And that's one of the best things about travel. And that's why travel is very huge in my family because it's kind of just that's where you bond as a family, away from, like the hard, working hard
Yep.
and just life in general. Like we always look forward to traveling together to just kind of create memories and just,
Yeah.
just to feel good about yourselves as a family. And that it's just the bond too that keeps the family together, which is something, every family in this world should experience, because not many families like to travel. But you know what I say, like, that's kind
Yeah.
of, traveling is probably the best ways that where you can actually bond, rather than aside from like, dinners
Yeah.
and movies and
Yeah,
so
you're
forth.
right. Because it's the experience, right? You're experiencing new cultures and new and different places together. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And creating, I mean, lifetime memories, stories. I always share with my friends.
Yep.
They always ask, Tennie, I live through you vicariously because I see how, families, the way you you bond. Travel is the way your family bonds. And, I can't even imagine, like, they even say, I wish I had that with my family and stuff. And I was like, it's also, if people say, like, isn't there a price tag to that? I was like, well, there's a price tag to everything. And you have to know what's important to you in, how you use your money. And trust me, we don't, in my family, I think we never had cable, because actually all of us don't like watching TV other than the news. But we were okay. We could live without cable. We could live without like having a fancy car. But when it comes to travel, we like to travel, sophisticated style, because that's what makes us happy. But I do want to ask you about the different ships that Celebrity. I think this is what I don't know about cruising, is that, like, I see all these names and I'm just like, okay. So, and I was like, I guess, does every ship offer different, amenities, or is it named because it goes to different, to different destinations and ports? Yeah. Hate the cruise version right here.
Oh man, there is a lot to know. So dig in. But I would say for us, all of the ships we offer. So we have three series of ships. The mid-size ships, and it really starts with smallest kind of to larger, if you can think of it that way. They all offer the same amenities essentially on board. Your accommodations, your meals, your entertainment. And then ships will vary depending, specialty dining, that changes for some of the ships. Our retreat class, which is our suites area, they are a little bit more elevated on the edge class, because they have a sun deck included, which the other ships that are a little bit older don't have that yet. Some of them do, but unfortunately the pandemic put a pause into our plans to really get that on all of the ships, but eventually it'll happen. So that's kind of the big differences. But then we do have a fleet in the Galapagos Islands, which is a all-inclusive experience. The biggest ship in that region is 100 passengers. So in terms of, size and features, that's kind of the kind of short version, right, of the differences there. But any ship that you take with us, that the service will at least be the same, because our crew on board we have this partnership with Forbes Travel Guide. So all of the crew on board is being kind of under these guidelines to really offer top-notch service, because the goal is to get 4-star rated on all of the ships by Forbes Travel Guide. So more to come on that. Keep your eyes peeled for a little bit more information about that soon.
Yeah, I think it's beyond. I would say I would give it more than 4 stars. And not because of that croissant, Alex, but it's. I mean, even just I think when me and Gladys just first stepped in, because we actually had a game plan. We're like, okay, we can't leave the ship. We brought our bathing suits. We got to like check out the whirlpool and also the indoor pool. But we got so caught up with, like, we were just so fascinated with everything that we were just like, I don't think we have time. And I think also this is probably one of the what met my expectations, because is the entertainment. And I think it was Elements, because we were thinking of skipping that, because I was like, oh, this seems like this looks like a Cirque du Soleil, and I'm from New York too, so I know my expectations for entertainment and body. And I'm also a music major. I'm a music graduate too, so I have like high expectations when it comes to entertainment. I was like, oh, this probably looks like a Cirque du Soleil, but it wasn't. I mean, it was quality. Like, I was just like amazed with the performance. It was a mix of like, it had that Cirque du Soleil feel, but it also had, the dance, the singing, and the performers were just high caliber, that I was like, I could apply for a job as a singer too, but I just don't know how to dance.
Come on.
Come on. I think that was one of the things that really caught my attention, that took me by surprise, because the entertainment, this is something like the value of it. I know for a fact, I know my mom would have enjoyed that, hands-on, but that's part of, part of what's great. Probably one of the greatest things that why people should sail on Celebrity is the entertainment
Mm-hmm.
that you offer as well. But I want to ask
Yeah.
you, have you been to all of those ships that Celebrity has? And
No, no, but I do have my checklist. There are ones I haven't been on every single one. I'm pretty close, but I still have a while to go. We have 15 ships total, so yeah, I still have a little bit of time to catch up on all that, but I'll let you know when I do.
yeah, but which ones have you sailed on, and what's so great about them? Like, what experience have you had on them, and what
Yeah.
have you met your expectations?
Yeah, so I we have the three different types of series of ships besides the Galapagos, which is on my bucket list. So I'll get to that probably a little bit later in my lifetime. But for now, the Millennium class ships, which are the smallest within our fleet, they're about 2,800 passengers. I went to the Mediterranean on one of those ships. It was the Constellation, and what's great about that is that ships like of that size can go into some of the ports that maybe the ships that are a little bit bigger can't. So in that particular itinerary, which is a little bit of a sore subject these days, it did leave from Venice. Unfortunately, we can't leave, no cruise ship can leave from Venice anymore. They changed the laws in that area. So they have rerouted to a port that's very close to Venice. But at the time, that was the only size ship for Celebrity that could go into that area. So leaving from there, it's just a really memorable experience. So in that regard, the smaller ships have the ability to do a little bit more of those kind of things. And then our next series called the Solstice class, what's really cool and unique about that ship is that it has real grass on board. So if you're in a destination, for example, like Alaska, like our Solstice and Eclipse does Alaska, it's kind of weird to be kind of in a cooler weather climate, but have this beautiful plush grass area outside that you can sit out and watch these glaciers from wherever you are. So that's always a really neat experience on those ships too. And then of course, from your experience, the Edge class ships with all the amazing architecture and the artwork on board, and I think the ship in and of itself isn't, a destination, but these ships right now are in the prime locations that Celebrity goes to in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean. And then as we start to release deployment for 2024, and can you believe it, 2025, it's crazy to think so far in advance, but it's coming down the line. These ships are going to be able to be moved to other destinations because we have two more of these ships coming out in the next couple of years. So, I mean, honestly, plenty of places to visit throughout the world. Every single ship will offer that really amazing, unique Celebrity experience. So you can't go wrong.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. I think I did see that. I think in 2024, I think you're gonna branch to Asia, or I'm not sure if you have already in Asia. I saw like Singapore, and
Yes.
it's places I've been to: Singapore, Penang, Thailand, and yes, that's also, and to see that it's I didn't even know that cruises would leave from Singapore. That's also one of my favorite places
Yeah.
into because of food.
Oh, I would love to go there someday. And the good news about that region is we just announced we're going to have a ship there year round, which is a first for us. We've never had a ship there for the entire year. And that will include a lot of Japan sailings in the summertime, which I'm really excited about. And hopefully we'll get to go someday.
I'm curious, Alex, where have you gone on, like, let me rephrase it. What is your, like, probably the best destination that you've been to on a cruise?
Okay. Yeah. So I unfortunately haven't ventured too far outside of kind of the general United States. Well, that's not true, Europe, but more exotic, talking about the Asia. I was supposed to go on Australia and New Zealand for my honeymoon in 2020, but unfortunately that is on pause.
Yeah.
But so I've done Alaska. You can't go wrong with Alaska if you've never been up there. It's just an amazing experience. The Caribbean, very traditional. There's so many options in that area, and it's very easy, to leave from Florida to go anywhere. But I think the highlight was when I did the Mediterranean cruise. And I think it's because I'm traveling a little bit further away, and like we were talking about earlier, it was a 12th night. I got to see so many different places in a short amount of time. And it's even almost like a teaser. If I really enjoyed one of the destinations, I'm like, okay, I'm going to mark that down, want to go back for a longer period of time, maybe in the future too. But what Celebrity offers for Mediterranean, we have, I think in Europe actually, in the Mediterranean, about 45 overnight stays too. So the cruise that I was on in particular, we had an overnight in Malta, and I had never really known much about Malta. It's a really unique place. I know some of the Game of Thrones was filmed there too, so a lot of people, it's been on the map. Yes, and Troy, you're right. You're right, yes. So it's a little bit more on the map these days because of those reasons, right? But we had an overnight there, and I was like, this is so cool. You can get off the ship and explore the nightlife. Sometimes people have a misconception of the cruises where it's just on and off, but a lot of our itineraries have long port calls. So you get in really early, you either leave at a pretty late hour, or you have overnight sometimes where you can go out, experience the nightlife, grab maybe food at a local restaurant if you wanted to try that, and you have plenty of time to explore. So I thought that was a really great concept. And yeah, you'll find a lot of our Mediterranean itineraries do have this overnight experience and longer port times, because we know that's important to travelers, right? Especially when you're going a little bit further away from home.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was also explaining to some of my friends who don't really know about cruises. And like you tapped on it, they just think it's, you're hop on, hop off, and you're just on a ship, and you're not. You have time to explore. Sometimes, yeah, you have they have overnight itineraries. I'm studying it a little bit more because my niche is Italy for now, or I would say also Europe, and
Nice.
I actually also had a friend of mine too who asked me about cruising in the Mediterranean specifically. She knows that I love Italy, and she knows I've been to Greece too, and I love Santorini, one of my favorite places too that
Me
I've been
too.
to. And yeah, it's all the cathedral, and it's just the Greece. Greece, it's the hospitality of the Greeks as well. And I said, yeah, that's actually why I'm studying more on cruises too, is because I see, and also from the experience, I was like, I can imagine, if I went on a Mediterranean cruise with Celebrity, I would still have I would have that experience that you had from your experience, Alex. I do want to ask, what is the bestseller cruise in Celebrity Cruises best-selling itinerary
overall? So I think it's interesting because, especially after the pandemic, things have kind of been a little bit different. So at first, coming out of the pandemic, it was a lot of the more close to home, but we are seeing a lot more people starting to book on the more exotic, if you will. And of course, it also depends on, I think, where you live in the world. I told you I had lived on the West Coast for a little, and my territory, my travel advisors were selling completely different products than what people want a little bit more on our side over here. So for here in the Northeast in particular, we have the drive market to Bermuda, to Bayonne, New Jersey, where the ship was when you visited. And we have the Bermuda product that leaves there all summer long. So Summit is the ship that we have there. But Europe, the Mediterranean itineraries, I would say, besides the drive market, are probably the biggest from our area. And the ones that include, again, the overnights, a lot of Greece, a lot of Italy, even a little bit of the one-offs where they leave from maybe Amsterdam or Southampton and get to do a little bit of the Mediterranean. They're a little bit longer, so it really depends on how much time people have. So I would say those, and then Alaska would probably come in third, followed by the Caribbean as kind of the core products for the overall brand, but in particular here in the Northeast area. So if, West Coast gets a little bit more into Asia, Australia, New Zealand gets a little bit closer. It's just a little further for us over here to get to those destinations. So, but when you do get those, they are definitely, people who are celebrating a big occasion, or this has been on their bucket list for a long time, and they're, finally have the time and the funds to make that long trip. So those are always really special. And I love to see when people do book trips like that. It gets me really excited that people are venturing out again and really wanting to see the world and getting out of this craziness that has been the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think also because cruising is becoming a trend too. It's a hot trend too, and I think a lot of people, and even including, I should say that for myself, I'm venturing more, being open-minded because there's two reasons why I never wanted to experience a cruise is because I was concerned about getting seasick because I had a bad experience going on, not on a cruise, fishing on a boat.
Oh yeah.
And I know that's totally kind of like different from actually being on a moving ship. My friend even said you don't even really feel it, and that was probably her concern too. When she first started cruising too, but she told me there's ways to handle seasickness and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's great about the ships these days is the technology that's on them, the stabilizers. So it's really, people do feel every now and then, but really it's not as bad as I think a lot of people think. But I do know if you have been seasick before, you really don't want to experience that. So I can understand your perspective of not wanting to try it. But I always think that people, yes, they have reasons why they maybe don't want to cruise but I always say just give it a shot. There are so many options. You can just do a short, 3 or 5 night and really, really try it first. You never know until you try. That's my motto.
I agree with that motto too, because that's where I'm going to even start. I'm going to start off with maybe a 3 or 5 day trip.
Yeah.
And I actually even started after. It's funny when I saw that there was going to be a sale, and we'll get to our promoting the Black Friday sale. But I was looking on the website last week because I know my sister wanted to do she just automatically said let's go on vacation on January. So I was just like, well, let's see what celebrity cruises have. What short trip can we take? And
yeah.
then I saw we could go to Miami to Cozumel and then come back to work. But
there you go.
I just even started being open-minded about it too. And, I said, yeah, you know what, let's try it. And, it's kind of like, let's not live life regretting that, we didn't try every travel opportunity, whether it's cruises, river cruises, whatever, all types of traveling, which that's kind of our goal too. Is we live once, and what is this? This is something I just learned, YOLO.
You're a teacher, so you know all the cool stuff.
It's fine. I thought YOLO. I thought it was like chocolate, but I was confusing it with Rolo.
Hello, that's really funny.
And they're like, it means you live life once. So I was like, well, yeah, I didn't know that. Sorry, I'm still on LOL. I'm new to all this hashtag stuff.
Yeah, but it's true. It's so true.
Yeah, it's true, and I think I'm coming out of this. For our listeners, you know what? If you haven't experienced cruising, or you are a experienced cruiser but you haven't tried celebrity, it should be on your bucket list of things to do. And having that said, let's promote what's Black Friday. Share us with what's going on with your Black Friday sales in celebrity.
Yeah, sure. So I will preface this with saying a couple things. So I think what also sets Celebrity apart from maybe some of the other cruise lines out there is our pricing program that we have. So essentially there's pricing that you can get that's just what we had mentioned in your inclusions, which is the accommodations, the entertainment, and your food, right? So we call that no perk pricing. We also have a program called All Included. So included in that price that you pay, you get a classic beverage package, prepaid gratuities, and basic Wi-Fi. So that's in your package. And then if you book a suite, you get all the bells and whistles. So that's a whole other beast. But for kind of the two basic programs, that's really the base of it. And we have non-refundable and refundable deposit options as well. Okay, so with that being said, the Black Friday sale that is actually applicable now through December 1st. So we've extended it. So you have plenty of time to get your cruise booked. But if you are booking a non-refundable deposit, it's 75% off the second guest. If you're booking a refundable deposit, it's 60% off the second guest. So that's why it's important to note the refundable and non-refundable deposit options. So that's combinable with, let's say you wanted the perks. So you would get the all-included if you went with the all-included plus either 75 or 60% off. And then the Black Friday element to it. So that's the general promotion. And the Black Friday benefit is either, depending on how many nights that you decide to sail. So let's say you do 7 nights, you're going to receive $100 off per stateroom and $100 of onboard credit per person. So, I'm sorry, both are per person. So $100 savings per person, $100 onboard credit per stateroom. And the onboard credit is something that can be used for, anything from our retail stores on board to the spa to specialty dining, anything that has a cost associated with it on-board, shore excursions. So, it's really nice to have this onboard credit at the end of the day. You're like, oh, this is free. This is free.
That's what I didn't get to learn about cruising. I'm like, oh, wow. There's a lot of perks to it, like the onboard credit that you do really save a lot of money when you do go on a cruise, but it has to be something, it has to have sophistication and, what you want as a traveler as well. Yeah.
And I'll say this sale is the best I've seen so far. It's our biggest sale of the year. So it is a really phenomenal time to take advantage of getting booked. And it's good for sailings that are up until April of 2025. So whatever has currently been open so far, this would apply. So you can plan in advance.
Yes, and I want to tell our viewers, take this opportunity to at least check it out. Check out the website. You could go on celebritycruises.com, or you could reach out to me as a travel advisor. You could reach out to me through Facebook, or you could reach out to Alex as well, and we could also help you plan your cruising trip. And I guarantee you're going to have a trip of a lifetime wherever you want to sail, whether it's Caribbean, the Mediterranean, Alaska, which is actually on my bucket list. I still want to see glaciers too. Yeah. But there's just so many places in the world, Alex, that I
know.
It's just sometimes overwhelming to can I do this before I actually have a project is, it was 50 states before 50 or 50 places before 50 that I want to go to, I should say.
Oh, I like that.
And it's 50 places that I think that I can go while I'm 50, while I'm healthy, no illnesses. I don't have I'm able to still walk without a cane.
Right. Yeah, I love that. That's a really cool idea.
And that's probably going to be one of my future, episodes that I'll have on my podcast. And also I'm in the process of also doing a travel vlogging and vlogging because I have that media experience as well. But Alex, thank you for coming on. It was great speaking to you. And I want to tell all our viewers, yes, think about where you want to take your trip either for next year, 2024, 2025, because planning is always important, and traveling as well. So Alex, thank you. And we'll touch base as well. As well.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you to our viewers, because without your support, I wouldn't be able to come on and share what I know and educate you on the world of traveling. Smart People Travel Wise airs every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Pacific. I'm Tennie Sumague. Catch you on next time.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.